comes down to the last match here. This is the last match of the day. It's the halfway point of the group, Hot Jukes, and I think this is the appropriate time for us to start getting worried about some of these teams.
Yep, for sure. I mean, that's going to be everybody there at the bottom. I mean, it really is going to get to that do or die point. We saw a lot of teams at the bottom here in Group Yellow at this point, and they were not able to make it back. So I want to see a chicken dinner right here, right now, from these teams at the bottom.
Well, let's find out. Head into the final Miramar of the day, the halfway point of the group. Let's go back to our commentators of Johnny A and Blanky B.
Thank you very much, Jason. It's me, Jason, over here on the casting desk. Max is bald and Infinix GT20 Pro. That's pretty much the summary of Jason. There you go. That's my impression. What do you think?
Yeah, it was pretty good. But yeah, not sure how to proceed.
Well, let's
with my whole life.
Let's go.
Yeah, but we're heading over towards the northwest side. El Pozo, Porto down towards the southeast side. Yeah, it's a last game of the day, last chance for some of our teams to get themselves into a position where they can be vying for that top spot coming into tomorrow, because I really do think that tomorrow is going to be the game changer. But yeah, for Tiamba, it's not, that game was not enough. It was a good chicken dinner, fair enough, great rotate at the start of the game, but kind of a lackluster finish from them.
Hopefully looking for more, like they were saying back on the desk. Jukes are saying they want to see a big chicken dinner if you want to make a bid for the survival stages. Even over on the east side, Furia do have a bit of a hot drop. I'm not too sure who that's with, but it looks like Furia, they're eating the dirt right now because they have been put down. I think that's by IWNRX with a bit of knife action over on the east side, and we're going out that way with the circle too. IWNRX start with a big chunk of points to kick things off.
Yeah, it's the same drop as before, where they found one Elim onto Furia. This time, instead of just sending one player, they send all four. So some mind games happening for the lads over on IWNRX. Just jumping on the bonnet here to see if they can get themselves as far as possible without having to get to it, because this vehicle only holds two, but this is one way of doing it. You can fall off like that though, as you did see, but at least you get another player towards another vehicle and they can get moving. An unfortunate first vehicle to find as a 4-man drop, but hey ho, there you go.
It's pretty rotten for Furia. They have pretty bad time, but they got Kayovsky. Come on, what can you do as a solo? I believe that he can carry on for at least the next minute, maybe minute and a half.
Yeah, Chaos, he's not a bad player at all. He's actually a really good player. But for Furia, things have not been going their way. I think that last game was probably their best game so far out of the tournament. And even then, they were pretty much silent the entire game, all the way up into the ending. Here's our replay on that fight. It literally was just full-on melee action and then baited into the building to a micro Uzi. So very well played to IWNRX, and that is 3 points, which will set them on the first triple digit of the lobby of 100 points here in Group Red.
Excellent stuff. And if you can close out towards that 120 mark at the end of the day, it would be brilliant for them. So if they can rack up a chicken dinner here, that would be a phenomenal day. And I mean, to be fair, with the circle breaking out to the east, they do have a good opportunity to take up a strong spot here. However, the metric that we're looking at over 4 days of gameplay was Team Spirit in first place with 225, which was a record-breaking first place, actually. Back in last week, they broke the record from last year, which was 220, and came through with 225, as I said, which would mean that you'd need, what was that, 112 and a half points at the end of today. So if you can get 113, you're ahead of their averages per map performance.
Should be great. Be great news for these squads. But again, last match of the day, we head over towards a similar location of the map, over towards that east side, but less dominated by Los Leones, so you won't have as many teams crunching into that horrible spot of the map. And because the playing path wasn't as southern, you can have a lot more rotates that can happen over towards the north side as well and wrap around past El Azahar. So it's much easier for a lot of our squads to get in towards this one, specifically looking at Navi, who started in La Cobreria up towards the northern edge of the map. That is one of those rotates that I'm talking about, over towards Cruz de Valle through to El Azahar, potentially taking up some of these high ground positions.
Team Queso, they've got the M249 in the pocket with Melodius, but he's on his own right now. The rest of Team Gesso further out to the east. You see them currently with ASIA kind of bearing down upon them. They're going to give this one up. They don't feel like they're in a favorable spot for it, but this is even less favorable. Out in the open, and losing a player like that, oh, it's such a rotten time to have it happen. Pretty rubbish, all things considered, and Team Queso cut down to 3.
Yeah, unfortunate, but that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, and ASI will put themselves at one more point, who, again, in that last match, able to just about shunt themselves into 3rd place there over Na'Vi, all thanks to Falak, who, as Maximum was saying, probably the best player from their respective region currently, even putting him over Crypto, which is a bit of a statement, honestly, but I think he's right. He definitely plays a lot more with his team, and that's what makes ISA so strong, but still in those solo situations, he is a monster to come up against.
It is a pretty terrifying sight for sure. Virtus Pro, the team from EMEA, the little brother of the region right now. The rest of them all the way up at the top of the tables, but just can't quite keep pace. He's not got long enough legs. Stop being mean to him. Stop picking on your little brother. But right now, the lobby is certainly picking on them. They have not been able to really have too much momentum gather at all, which is quite unfortunate. I mean, they have had some shine-through moments back in EMEA, but it's just not transferred on over. Alter Ego as well. They have... Today, I mean, they definitely did change up their play style, right? Like, it was definitely a good start to the day, finding really strong results. But it's just not being consistent enough to put them safe right now. They're on 57 points, but they've been flirting with that 11th place bubble for a long time now, and it's somewhere they just don't want to be.
Yeah, it's a struggle as well with it's Pro, Gesso Roy, Team Queso, all being within just a few points of Alter Ego right now. Similarly to FaZe, though, being on 58. It's a scary position to be in from 8th place downwards. All these teams are so close to dropping out into those bottom 5. And again, not securing it going into the end of day 2, it just feels bad. It just feels bad with how close it is towards that 11th place bubble. Yeah, Karovsky, he decimates a vehicle, but we'll find another one.
I think that was on purpose. I think he saw the new vehicle, maybe low on fuel on the buggy, and then put it into the dump truck because he knew other teams are going to rotate through here and might use the buggy as well. So he's taking it out of action, can't get it out of there, takes a new vehicle.
Yeah, it's a fair enough play to go for, especially when you're solo. You don't really want teams tailing you in the future. It's TJP who've had a magnificent comeback over day 2 and the end of day 1. Tiamba now behind them, though, in 7th place with 62 points after that last game. And with another Eastern shift on the circle, it's another potential chance for Tiamba, who are currently tucked in over on the central side of the circle on that eastern edge of the coast.
Yeah. I don't know if you caught that as well on the stats on the left-hand side for TJB. Long's no longer a lone outlier at the bottom of the tables. Definitely now leveled with the rest of the team, all of them sharing the load equally on TJB. So he has been pulling his weight today, which is great to see and could potentially be a big contributor to the TJB rise in performance, bringing that 4th player back into action, which is great stuff. But right now they're moving through Los Leones and have to push in towards the central glut of teams that have all pushed in towards that North Impala side. IHC, they're late out this one, back over towards Chumacera. On the south side here, we're going hard up to the north. That is bad news for IHC. They still have a long, long way to go. This is a pretty mean shift, all things considered. Everybody on the north side of Impala doing okay, but there's a lot of ground that is unoccupied on the north.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see where Na'Vi will cut in on this one, because I don't think we have even see them on the map right now, but I think they're far on the northern side and will be cutting through back down through El Zahar, which would make a lot of sense to me. You can see them just coming through water treatment now. Enigma Galaxy also on that western side. Both of our teams, Enigma Galaxy and Na'Vi, do struggle on these types of rotates because they do start far on the northwest side, and it's been Eastern shift after Eastern shift.
All the way up to that east coast. I mean, keeping El Azahar in this circle is pretty nutty. The teams are slowly being drawn up there by the gravitational field that is the circle. Enigma Galaxy exacting their toll onto Na'Vi as they try and make their way past, which is, I mean, great news for Enigma Galaxy, right? To be able to take down Na'Vi, stop them from getting towards the top 3 a little bit. Unless they want that EMEA 1-2-3, it could be a nice little trophy to take with them in those confirmed spots to the grand finals. That would put, I think, 4 of our confirmed spots into the EMEA region, which would be quite something. I would certainly be bragging about that, at least for the next week until they get decimated over in group in our last group.
Yeah, I mean, Na'Vi losing one player there is somewhat unfortunate, and I don't think Enigma Galaxy is comfortable with letting them get too further into this one as they take a little bit more damage. Team Queso, though, Ghetto Roy taking some damn good damage over towards them here, and Queso did lose a player early on, so now down to just 2 players. They know they're not behind that crate now, so they should be on either side, so that's a good position where Ghetto Roy can start to isolate those positions. Alter Ego again losing a player. I was glad to see Tiamba move up because I was sort of curious of why they weren't moving as fast as I might have liked there, but they do take it slow. They grab the longhouse over on the northeast side. I don't think it's a bad position whatsoever. You can control the coastline very well from that spot.
The start of Team Queso's day looked like it was going pretty well, but they've moved a little bit from sharp cheddar down to soft brie right now on the cheese rankings, and it's not being super healthy. Unfortunately for Ghetto Roy, they have missed one. They need to pick up the rest of the cheese board to take it down. Steps out for one, but they know he's in there now. And that should be an easy pickup for Carp. They can res protected in the container, and only one of Team Queso remains.
Yeah, it gets to send away and try and maintain some of that point scoring, because right now they are in 12th place. They are in the bottom 5. It's not a good place to be, and they did drop. And it's just been a case of those points did not keep flowing through. They had a little bit of a performance upwind, and then that wind just came to a dead stillness over on the Team Queso camp, sadly. But waiting on our next circle, and it does shift over towards truck stop. So again, giving a lot of that high ground where Ghetto Roy is currently playing in play alongside IWNRX, who is slightly further down towards their southeast side. But for Na'Vi, they couldn't be happy with this one. It does make their cut in somewhat easier over towards the south side of El Azahar. Despite playing with 3 players, it is certainly a game that Na'Vi could potentially get back into the top 3 with. But I am still looking at ASI8, who honestly completely deserve to be in this top 3 at the moment.
Yeah, they have had some really quite strong performances. I mean, you said it right at the start of the day. This felt like one of the best ASI8 performances in general. And I think they're just continually making smart decisions, even in difficult spots, right? That route out east from Los Leones, I think they took the best option out of a bunch of really bad options and couldn't quite make it through, which is unfortunate. But then Falak was able to piece together a pretty miraculous game out of the crumbs that were left. So great news to be able to salvage something like that. And it's continually part of that conversation is ASI8 are just there with some decent entries from that edge of the circle.
Take a look at Falcons at the moment in truck stop. It's slightly lower ground than anything else, but it's going to keep them safe. It's going to keep that team safe, and a team that's chasing in 5th place right now up towards that top 3. And it would be a shame to see Falcons not head towards that top 3 and be part of the PMGC Grand Finals if they go down in survival stage, because they have been, as a team, synonymous with PMGC for such a long time now. So I'd be sad to not see them in that top 3, but I'm sure they could perform in survival stage just fine. There are limited spots over there for squads to get in with. IHC looking over towards Virtus Pro as they attempt to make their way in. They do lose one player, and another goes down very low to 20%, and there is more targets to be dealt with in the future as Tiamba moves further down towards that south side.
IWNRX as well chiming in over onto Virtus Pro, so having a handle on this fight from the east side of truck stop. Currently IWNRX with the high ground oversight onto all of it as well. So that southeast edge is very, very dangerous to move through, especially almost doubly so because it's IWNRX on that high ground. Very dangerous team to come into contact with here, seemingly in group red. TJB nades over towards ASI8, and they're trying to carve out more presence in towards the top 3 here. For ASI8 and TJB want to continue their run up the tables to pivotally positioned teams. Another precipice of failure here against one another. Maybe just to disengage, get closer into this one. The next circle comes.
As over towards the northwest, it's a really hard shift, and Vengeance quite happy with this one, though there is the Enigma Galaxy encampment on this side, and that is a dangerous team to be close to. You could spike out at any time, because I'm sure they would like to take control of where Lily is currently playing from Vengeance all the way over on that eastern side of this hilltop. In the meantime, it's ASIA looking over towards TJB. Long's already down, somewhat out of the picture here, and ISA are doing a good job at keeping them at bay, but nice backstab here coming through from Triple S, and it's going from bad to worse here for ASI 8.
Oh dear, 3 players down on the hillside, and now it's just Flower on the low ground here, but still looking for more. Challenge sent back up. It's 1v1 on this situation. IQ with the high ground with the nades as well. The inside track, and it's a pickup for TJB. This is the correct decision to make. Picks up 3 points just like that, and IQ cannot get his teammates back on up. This is very unfortunate stuff, and Flower, I mean, he's taken one hell of a peppering to the shack, but it's not going to land the damage. IQ burns the roof, but it's going to heat nothing but the metal. Flower stays alive for the time being into the buggy. IQ wants to disengage, and both of these two teams take one another down. It's Navi's chance to try and push through. IQ steps back out of the vehicle. He really wants this fight, stays out in the blue. Flower with the spray, with the Vector, can't get past it, and IQ's on for another lone game for ASI 8.
Yeah, almost had it for TJB. I mean, it was a good backstab from them there, and it looked like ASA had it completely under control, but 5 elims for them. I think they'll be okay with that one. IQ being able to make it further into this game too is good news for them. Kayovsky in the wings for Na'Vi on that north side. Don't know if they know where he is right now. There's FaZe up against Alter Ego. Again, a team that wants to put more points up, but right now with 0 elims and only 1 player left.
Hans for you, nade over the top towards Noise, caught with a little flurry of bullets there. Noise makes his approach, but the blue zone's pushing in again, and Hans for you stays alive. Incilio across the way. They want to try and suppress it, but no luck there. ASI8 with their lone player as well, still off in the distance, but he's not going to risk peeking over here when he knows there's sightlines from Mella off in the distance. Incilio taking looks out this way as well. Much too dangerous for a solo to try and take that fight. Tiamba, in the meantime, on the northeast side, trying to push on in, but IHC trying to stop it. 2 players alive of theirs in IWNRX further south, not really going to have the time to flex out this way.
Tiamba up against IHC. QZ behind the rock, finds the first pick off and then looks for the second. There is this little bit of backup here, but 1 player down for Tiamba, and Shan likely to fall shortly. For Tiamba, I think that might be somewhat of the close of the day here for them. I think that was a small tag they got off that nade, so they know he's roughly in this area.
I think a lot of teams are going to go down on the southwest, so if Tiamba can hold out, they can rack up a couple of placement points here. They've gotten 3 elims already. Getting this res, they can stay as 2. They're just about on the edge of this circle. Na'Vi, IHC, all have pulled off this location now. IQ goes down, and this is what I was talking about. This southwest side is a lot hotter, Blank. Falcons are here, Incilio are here. One of these 2 teams is not going to make it out from this location. I think they have to joust or send away, in which case they're, again, in a lot of danger. Incilio can move east. Falcons have to move through truck stop too.
It's a rough circle down towards the south side. Not a fun position to be playing in, especially with that roadside that cuts through on the northwest, which is practically a valley here. But it's awkward high ground to play around with, even towards the central side of the map. Ghetto Roy currently have a great chance to put up quite a few points here, looking over towards the northeast side and picking off teams as they come through. Na'Vi scouts out over towards Tiamba and will lose a player because of that, in fact, to Bond. So now both teams down to 2.
Falcons moving through the buildings now in the truck stop. Playing the east side of it, does have a foothold into the circle, but crossing across the road to the high ground will be tricky. Enigma Galaxy trying to leave. Vengeance have other ideas. Yamak finds the shot down to Snowix. Ralph is low, the blue zone's pushing. Does get that first aid off just in time, but the crossing's covered and Yamak's too quick for it. Not going to be able to get away with that. Ralph flushed away. 2 players for Enigma Galaxy pretty quickly on this engagement. Vengeance able to drag them down and looking for more as well. Noise gets the reload. The spray down to the back is harrying. It's deadly as Redox down out of the vehicle. Just the 1 player now left standing.
Yeah, again, for Vengeance, they actually play this quite well because it's not an easy compound to remove yourself from. So Vengeance set themselves up on all corners of it, so they have all the sightlines available and just play it very slowly. So I do really like the way the Vengeance went about that versus Enigma Galaxy, who are now in a very tough scenario coming into tomorrow, where they could have massively increased their lead, but these last two games just have not really provided them with the value that they might have liked. In the meantime, I do X, though, still up and kicking. 5 eliminations so far, 102 points for them, and can play quite comfortably from the eastern side of the map.
Chamber with now 1 player left standing as 8 teams remain. We're getting close to starting to ladder up those placement points. 4 elims for Chamber, but they are really bunched in now. Getso Roy on top. If Getso Roy take down Na'Vi, they may not suspect that there's another player here unless too much noise is made in this location. I mean, they heard some nades further downhill, so they should know that there's 2 presences there. Or be aware of the possibility of it, and may be a little bit more wary of that. So, are they going to have the wherewithal to make this one work? Kayovski's been solo for Furia for a very long time. In fact, right since the start of the match blank. He was a solo when IWNRS dropped on them and got 3 knife eliminations.
Yeah, basically Na'Vi was just never aware of Kayovski's position, and that's typically how it goes when you get a solo who went down to a solo very early in the game. There's no indication of a third party that happened nearby through either hearing the fight or seeing the fight. So for Kayovski to get towards this position, there's no indicators. So I think for Na'Vi, they are... it's not a case they didn't scout it or they didn't check hard enough. Just difficult to know that he'd ever be here in the first place. Falcons, though, looking to finish off their day strong as they take a fair bit of a hit, with Falcons losing top on a knock here, as Incilio are down towards that southeast side. Good barrage of bullets, though, but the nades are starting to come through as Incilio gets into that range that was required.
Mountaintop that gets a Roy, a real powerhouse of a position. A lot of cover, a lot of oversight. Danger for the Falcons as they try and leave the truck stop. This is that difficult road crossing I was talking about. They have gotten up to the ridge, but Incilio looking pretty solid to hold off the Falcons here. 4 elims found already, all 4 of their players alive. The Falcons, not so lucky, will not be afforded the same luxuries as one of their players already down. East, that outpost, Icy on a wide flank up towards the north side, quite separate. Closer to Vengeance than anything else. Vengeance also scouting across the road, trying to get themselves a position. Icy regroups, back in with the rest of the Falcons, and he stays on this side of the road.
Yeah, it's a really smart play from Incilio, honestly. The fact they get that first knock over towards top, they instantly take the opportunity to set themselves between a lot of the teams on that eastern side, with this ridge side that sits in front of them and Falcons. They know that Falcons can't really challenge them here, but it is Vengeance coming down from that northern edge, and this pressures out Falcons more than it does Incilio.
Forces Falcons to have a choice. Do you go north? Do you go for that fight at Vengeance, or do you just get bogged down in your current position, get picked to pieces? It seems like that might be the option for them. Currently, we did see Kayovski actually go down on that north side, which means Na'Vi will not have that danger. It was Getso Roy to spot that one, so the high ground angle was able to scope him out. Bond has been surviving in his little nook for a long, long time. You can see the damage already pouring on through. Getso Roy aware of this back and forth conversation now, and they'll know. You can see 6 does go down. In the meantime, Incilio descending on the Falcons. East is the last to go. The Falcons do indeed get picked to pieces. And it's Vengeance versus Incilio for the western side.
Yeah, frustrating game there for Falcons, because I think if they were a little bit more on the ball there and settled their forces up towards that ridgeline a little bit earlier, rather than have Icy looking over towards that northern side, they might have been able to take a stronger fight. I think it's just because they were trying so hard to maintain control over the north and the south that I think it didn't even cross their mind to just take a full-on assault and just try and play out this ridgeline, which is fair enough from a team that has a lot of experience. You're trying to cover all corners of the map. Bond out in the circle. Na'Vi protected by the fact that they still have a little bit more time outside the blue, so it will be Honda to find that final player in Tiamba. and Flip gets to live for another day, technically getting himself a 5th place, at least here, in the top 5.
Vengeance spreading out, currently on a 3-1. With Lily taking sightlines over towards Getso Roy. I mean, this high ground position for them has done very, very well. The question is, can they transition back down south? Because IWNRX, that danger, that threat, a lot of strong teams. I'm liking the dynamics of this one. Flip, very low, not down just yet fully. A scrap between 4 full squads will be quite a way to close down the halfway point of this group. I mean, it feels kind of thematic for what's been happening so far in this group. Everybody's in this fight.
Yeah, we got a lot of teams trying to get this one done. And it's nice to see that it's Vengeance in 14th, then our 9th place team, 7th place team, 4th place team, and 1st place team. So this is somewhat of an equalizer game towards the end of the day, especially because so many of our strong squads did go out quite early in both our last 2 matches. That breakaway doesn't seem as horrendous anymore. Flip zigzagging, gets back into position, and Porsche is forced off the angle by the blue. So Flip lives to tell the tale.
I've got to see Porsche versus Lamborghini 1v1, right? That has to be in our future somewhere. It's only a matter of time, surely, before we see that one pop off. We'll have to wait, though. Just that little bit longer. Navi, last player to stand. 1 Elim. Trying to push ASIA out of the way, but they're on 85. A little bit off in the distance. But top 5, the placement points are going to help with that. 1 more Elim. Or maybe Incilio or IWNRX go down in this fight, and you ladder up that way. Nades in hand. Westron launches towards Frozen. Immediately lands on the mark. That's a really difficult res as well. So a great start to this fight for Incilio. 4 players alive. And they can start to move up to this angle, leaving 1 player at the back. They start to reinforce this position, but the crossfire is there. It's excellent control here for IWNRX to keep their teammate alive. Kane not going to go down without a fight. Getso Roy can start to chime in, though, and this makes it so hard for IWNRX to hold off this push from the south.
It's getting really tough now for IWNRX. Good shots from Incilio. And this is classic Incilio, honestly, in terms of just the fact that they'll have these moments where they just pop off and then they're quiet for the rest of the day. But IWNRX not able to get too much further. Getso Roy, on the other hand, 9 Elims. I mean, they have had one of the most unbelievable positions on the map for such a long time now that it makes sense for them to get a good game off the back of this. Fash, though, with a classic off angle for him, getting a bit of damage done and allows the rest of his team to regroup and repass the situation as they move further up towards these crates.
Getso Roy still have 4 players alive. Vengeance starting to establish a northern line here. With IWNRX down to 1, it's all up to Swain to show us why they're at the top spot, or just go down in the midst of it all. But again, he is kind of in a little dip between 2 crossfire teams, which in general is one of the safer places to be as a solo until that fight concludes. It's very unlikely that people are going to fully commit forwards because the team on the other side will just take those shots in. The question is, how long can Swain survive this if Incilio look to try and move up to those crates? Vengeance, I think, right now in control of this one.
Yeah, they've got a fantastic spot to play in. Getso Roy basically living...
No way. No way! He's right there! Oh, Swain takes it down. There's no way they didn't see that. He's completely caught them on the broadside. He finds a second as well, trying to pick up those points, and Swain is on a tear, hops into the vehicle. He's getting away with murder here. Incilio fall down to it, but Getso Roy jump on through as well. That is criminal.
I mean, they'll take a 4th place. Man, come on. You knew he was in that direction. You were jump spotting the fool. And yet, don't look behind the crate. What a sneaky play there from Swain. But now we're down to Getso Roy versus Vengeance. And Getso Roy desperately needed that damage to be done early on so they could start to break out and create some position to play in. But Vengeance, just like how they played against Nick the Galaxy, have all the angles in the world to work with.
Nades in, but the first knock goes the way of Getso Roy. They've been fragging out this lobby. Vengeance are on 7, but a lot more added to the tally for Getso Roy. Yamak on the flank, however, he's been pretty deadly. 5 elims only just for him. pretty greedy, and he's looking to chow down on a final chicken dinner today. Japan needing this at a crucial juncture, but Lily goes down on the high ground. 2 players left standing, and Yamak's cut out of it as well. It's all up to Noise against Getso. 2 players down beneath him. Very, very low, but the healing coming through from Juke. Steps out with the MG3. A lot of damage being sent up, but the damage is not really connecting. The AUG there getting reloaded by Noise. Flanks out wide. Information fed back over. The nade is cooking. There should be the damage, but it goes long. Another one to cook. Goes down to it. And Noise looking to try and keep this one going. Getso Roy. And they're going to fall at the final hurdle. Cars the last to stand. But Getso Roy at the top. The Molotov is there. And Noise has the inside track. The reload on both of the weapons here. Gets the point confirmed. And now, with a sliver of HP to worry about. Spots a head. Spots a shoulder. But he needs to find the mark. It will be there. And it is vengeance to take it back. Getso Roy cannot step forwards. They are pushed back into the compound, and Japan stands strong.
It's such a flop from Getso Roy, though, man. You have a 2v1, push up with your teammate. Don't be pulling the pin on the grenade. You can see how happy Vengeance are with that one. What an outplay they had there. And again, it's just in case you trade off one another. You don't need to do this. And I think they understand better than us that that was just not the move, John.
That was really unfortunate, and that is, I mean, that's fair enough. That despair from Getso Roy, that's gotta feel bad, especially at such a crucial time in the tournament. Let's head back to the desk.
I don't know what I can say that doesn't tell that tells a better story than the faces of Getso Roy right now. 2-on-1 that they fluff and mess up, and Vengeance capitalizing off of that, win out in the 1v2 to save his team and to put a big, massive chicken dinner on this game for them, considering they were so low on the leaderboards. Max, I know you're angry. Let it out. Let's hear it.
I don't even know where to start on this one. Vengeance should not have lost 3 players, in my opinion, that fight. There were some angles that were taken that were way too risky in the first place. And then you guys highlighted it during this game too, Jason, which is the 2v1 onto Noise, and they just send it one by one, and they just fumble what could have been an easy wrap-up to get that chicken dinner. I don't know, but this is the first game I feel like of this PMGC. I'm just like, I'm a little bit frustrated because there was a lot of mistakes for the wrap-up. But you know what, Vengeance at least get himself their first chicken dinner, so GG in that front.
Oh,
I mean, you did predict them to
thank
win.
goodness.
I mean, I just felt there was like something weird in the ether, just saying, it's Vengeance time. It's going to be the win coming up. I didn't want to, but I felt like they were going to. And actually, before this game-winning play, Jason, they even got eliminations on Nigma Galaxy, which, if we're looking at right now, currently one of the top fragging teams alongside IWNRX. So maybe Vengeance are like, we are going to be aggressive now, and it's working out.
Go ahead, Jukes. I interrupted you.
Oh, dude, I mean, oh my gosh, thank goodness he switched to the AUG right there at that last second,
Yes.
because he got busted.
That's gotta feel bad, especially at such a crucial time in the tournament.